Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to this video where we talk about life and the most meaningful thing in life. I just got finished watching a couple of videos and looking at a couple of courses that cost $300 or $400 that would teach people about spirituality and personal growth. I was really impressed with them, first of all, because they were very good. The main issue was, though, that I didn't want to pay $400 or $500 for something new. How much money are we supposed to have during these hard times when the world seems to be falling apart? A lot of us can't find work, and the ones who can find work don't really find anything that is meaningful and substantial. So we find ourselves struggling in order to make it for some of us, in order to keep making it for others. My question is, what does all of this mean? Thing that is meaningful about listening to all these people talking about spiritual growth and the cosmos and all of those things, trying to tell us how we can master the universe when we have a system in place that doesn't allow us to do that. What does it really mean? How helpful is it? A lot of them briefly mention the one thing that is most important, but I think that focusing on the one thing that is most important will take care of all the rest. The one thing that is most important is beginning to understand who and what we really are, to separate our greater self from the self that they have given us at birth, and to realize that we are much more, and we are much more powerful, and more important than that, to realize that when we work together in accord with other people, we can make the world that we would like to see. This has been tried several times, of course. People have started alternative communities, sometimes fights and sometimes violence between the members have broken it up. Sometimes someone from the outside would find ways to get in and take over if it was too successful. There have been several failures taking place in such places. Some even have become cultish, dangerous. So this does not seem to solve the problem. I think it can solve the problem, though. The way that the problem can be solved is by the character of the people who are coming together to create this community. It is impossible to do the outer work, the work of doing social activism or making the world better, without working to make oneself better. What does that mean? It means one cannot carry a disease into a community thinking they are escaping the disease. And the disease in our culture is the concept of self, the very lens that we use to see and understand the world. The very thinking patterns that we have adopted in this power society, power over society, is destroying us. And when we leave it, we find ourselves taking it with us and recreating it. Just think of this. We actually think that the person who is being fed is more powerful and has more worth than the person doing the feeding. Let's think about this a couple of more times. We actually think that the person who's being fed has more worth than the person doing the feeding. And we call the person doing the feeding a servant or something worse, and give them less respect. That is totally backwards. It's twisted and it's warped. And we don't do it on purpose. It's something that we have adopted. It's a way of thinking. Everyone knows that the person who's doing the feeding is the most important, and the one doing the serving is the most important, because all they need to do is stop, and nothing happens anymore. We know that they are the ones who are the gift of the divine, the gift of God, or whatever you would call he or she or it. But we don't see it that way without thinking about it first, because we have been conditioned to think like the oppressor, finding joy and self-esteem in being served by others instead of serving others to create a beautiful and wonderful community and to create strong families, resilient states and nations. Everyone wants to be the one who does nothing and receives the food and only gives orders, or who achieves greatness by throwing a ball through a basketball hoop better than others, or dancing better than others, performing some way better than others, so that one can be allowed to live the way everyone else should be able to live anyway. It's time for us to deal with the one thing that is most important, and the one thing that is important, and that is the awakening of intelligence, the awakening of the self, the going deep within and untying all of those tangles and all of those knots and all of the pain and suffering, all of those points that we have been clinging to that maintain a false identity. And with that sharp blade of Mahavakya, the mighty voice of truth, we cut those things away until we come to the placid lake known as the divine self, the original mind that has not been born, will never die, but has always existed, and that is in everything and is everything. That is the one thing we need to come to, and that is the one thing we need to do to understand what's going on and to change the world. We can go to all the workshops we want. We can listen to all the people we want. We can watch all of the TV, movies, and YouTube videos we want. But until we do that one thing, we will be wasting our time. The ego that has been created by those around us and by us so that we can seek comfort and certainty has to be obliterated, diffused to the point that it no longer exists, and it transcends itself, transforming itself into the all and all. So if your religion, your spirituality, your practice is not one moving towards that step by step on purpose, not just hoping that it happens by mistake, I would suggest that you find another way. Not even that. You don't even need to leave where you're at. All you need to do is go find some old books or find some real spiritual person in your practice so that you can find the mystical practices that are listed and discovered and used in almost every religion, the ones that are kept secret. Because an institution, most of the time, cannot handle too many people who are awake and free. The sign that you're becoming awake and free is that when people begin to use what you call yourself as a negative term, or put you down for speaking certain ways or doing certain practices in a system that does not want one to be free, that is a sign that you are doing something that is good and working, because you see, as the alchemist once said, the thing that a system throws out is usually that which would change it, destroy core values, and create new values. So when you are doing some type of mystical religion or spirituality, or you're doing some type of meditation and it's working, don't be surprised if the whole system begins to come down on you and people like you continue your practice. Work to relax yourself. De-stress through meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, all of those things to help release the tension from the mind and body. If you can, if you would like, perhaps you can find a group of people who are willing to do that with you, but you have to really be choosy. Once the exercise or the type of meditation gets trendy, many people will go just because it is a style with no real desire to become whole and complete. There is a benefit that happens when things become institutionalized and get spread around, but there's also a terrible deficit that happens because usually the one thing that is most important is removed as the other part becomes a money-making enterprise. So in any group or any institution or any place where you go, I would suggest that you remember the one thing. And that one thing is separation of the false self from the true self. That one thing is to free yourself from the negative and psychological influences of this society that tells you it is power over and based on how much you can consume, and become the real you, whole, complete, and fully intact. Not waiting till you go to heaven, no. But you can attain this self here on earth with the willingness, with the faith and belief that you can do it, and just a bit of work. You can overcome today, right now. For help in doing this, you can visit our website at the link below and find out more about how you can do these things through your own power and initiative, and how you can know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Namaste, folks.